Marie Curie. You hear that name and you think of genius, right? A legend of science. But in 1911, the very same year she was about to get her second Nobel Prize, that name was dragged through the absolute mud. This is the story of how Marie Curie faced down the fury of an entire nation and somehow won.
So, get this. In a single year, Marie Curie was living two completely different lives in public. For the world of science, she was a Nobel laureate, at the very top of her game. But for the press, in her own adopted country, France, she was something else entirely. A threat, an outsider, an immoral homewrecker. How on earth could both of these things be true at the exact same time?
Well, welcome to Marie Curie's Annus Horribilis, her horrible year. And here's the thing you have to understand. The campaign to destroy her didn't even start with the love affair. Nope. It began months before, when she had the nerve to challenge the Old Boys Club of French science. Okay, so look at this. When Curie tried to get a seat in the super prestigious French Academy of Sciences, you'd think they'd talk about her science, right? I mean, she'd already discovered radioactivity and won a Nobel Prize. But no, the right-wing press turned it into a full-blown culture war. She wasn't a scientist, she was a foreigner, an ambitious Pole, an atheist. Meanwhile, her rival was the perfect, pious French father. It had nothing to do with science, and in the end, she lost by just 2 votes. This was just the first shot. The war against her was only just beginning. After the tragic death of her husband Pierre, Marie was just profoundly alone. She eventually found comfort and a real intellectual spark with Paul Langevin. He was a brilliant physicist himself and actually one of Pierre's old protégés. But their work together, well, it turned into something much more, a passionate but very secret love affair. The problem? Paul Langevin was a married man. So how did this intensely private affair become a public weapon? Well, it plays out almost like a spy novel. Langevin's estranged wife, Jeanne, figured out what was going on. So she hired a guy to literally break into the small apartment the two lovers used for their meetings. He stole their most private, intimate letters. And with that dynamite in her hands, she went straight to the people who hated Marie Curie the most, the press. And the timing of this was just brutal. As this scandal was about to detonate in Paris, Marie Curie was off in Brussels, attending the legendary 1911 Solvay conference. I mean, just picture it. She's sitting in a room with Albert Einstein, debating the future of physics, completely clueless that back home, her entire world was about to be set on fire. And then, on November 4th, this headline dropped. This wasn't just a story, it was an attack. The articles painted Marie as this cold, calculating predator who was not only destroying a good French family, but was also staining the saintly memory of her dead husband, Pierre. And just like that, the floodgates opened. The right-wing press didn't just report on the affair, they weaponized it. It wasn't about love anymore, it was about nationalism. They called her the foreign poison in the heart of France. It was about to get so much uglier. Please remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. Share and like our videos. The information in the video is compiled from open sources. Thank you. The attacks became vicious, and they used xenophobia and anti-Semitism as their main weapons. They started calling her a foreign Jewish homewrecker. Now get this. Marie Curie wasn't even Jewish. But facts didn't matter. It was a slur. It was meant to mark her as an outsider, as other. Then they went after her Polish roots, constantly using her birth name, Sklodowska, to remind everyone she wasn't really French. She was the ambitious Pole, they screamed, who had used the great Pierre Curie and was now moving on to destroy another French genius. It was just this relentless daily barrage of hate. And this is where you can see the assault move from ink on a page to the real world. The press hunted her. This series of photos was literally titled "The Photographer is Without Mercy." It shows paparazzi swarming her, cornering her outside her own lab. She was a woman under siege. And the media campaign absolutely worked. All that hatred they stirred up, it boiled over into actual violence. When Marie got back from Brussels, she found a mob, hundreds of people, outside her home. They were screaming, "Get the foreigner out." They were throwing stones, breaking the windows of her house, terrifying her and her 2 little girls who were inside. She and her daughters had to flee for their lives. They found shelter with a friend, the mathematician Emile Borel.
But just helping her was a career-ending risk. The Minister of Public Instruction sent Borel this threat, basically saying, kick her out or you're fired for staining the honor of French academia. And Borel's response? It was just incredible. He essentially told the minister, go ahead. If protecting my friend is a crime, then fire me. What an amazing act of courage, standing up to the mob and the government when almost everyone else was running for cover. And then another voice of support emerged from the world of science itself. A young Albert Einstein was so disgusted by the press that he wrote Marie this incredible letter. He told her to just ignore the hogwash and leave it to the reptiles who were writing it. It was this perfect, calm voice of reason in a hurricane of hate. Now, right in the middle of all of this chaos came the most incredible, ironic twist you can imagine. News arrived that Marie Curie had been awarded a second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry. This should have been her moment of ultimate vindication. Instead, it just became another battle. You're not going to believe this. The scandal had reached all the way to Sweden. The Nobel Committee itself got nervous. A member of the Swedish Academy actually wrote to Marie and pressured her to not accept the prize. He said it would be inappropriate for a woman accused of adultery to shake the king's hand. Unbelievable. But Marie Curie was not backing down. Her reply was just a masterclass in defiance. She wrote back and made it crystal clear the prize was for her science, and she refused to accept that her scientific work could be diminished by slander about her private life. She drew a line in the sand. And so, that's exactly what she did. She defied the press, she defied the mob, and she defied the Nobel Committee. She went to Stockholm with her daughter and her sister, walked right up on that stage, shook the king's hand, and claimed her historic second Nobel Prize, completely and totally on her own terms. It was a monumental victory. But a fight like that, it doesn't come for free. The stress from that horrible year completely shattered her health. She fell into a deep depression, she developed a severe kidney disease, and she eventually had to check into a clinic. So traumatized that she registered under her Polish maiden name, Sklodowska. But history, it has a funny way of writing the final chapter. Decades later, after all the noise and the hate had faded away, something amazing happened. Marie Curie's own granddaughter fell in love with Paul Langevin's grandson. And they got married, uniting the very two families the world had tried to tear apart. What a beautiful, quiet triumph over all that hate. Marie Curie's story from 1911 really forces you to ask a question that feels more relevant now than ever. When does a person's private life, especially a woman's, become a tool for others to use against them? Her ordeals show us just how easily personal matters can be twisted into a public weapon, used to punish anyone who dares to challenge the way things are. It's a powerful reminder of the battles that brilliant minds often have to fight long after their real work is done.